The heat keeps turning up on Donald Trump's longest political advisor, Roger Stone. Bob Mueller seeking out a growing list of people who are publicly linked to him, and that list has grown to 8. I am here right now live with one of them, a political activist and comedian named Randy Credico, who is here on an important day. This is his first interview since he spoke Friday to the Mueller grand jury itself. And the Mueller probe is not slowing down. There's the former Trump campaign aide, George Papadopoulos, who just got a 2-week jail sentence for admitting to lying to federal agents. He spoke also publicly for the first time since his arrest this weekend.
I also don't think that the campaign would have invited me to speak at the RNC the way they did if they viewed me as a coffee boy.
The campaign was fully aware of what I was doing.
As far as I remember, I absolutely did not share this information with anyone on the campaign.
Now let's hear from another witness. Randy Credico is here. Thanks for coming back on the show.
Oh, it's a thrill to be here. I love it, because I like the anxiety.
The anxiety. Well, let's start with some easy and short, yes or no type questions. Number one, or short answers. How many hours were you in the grand jury room Friday?
Well, I arrived at 8:30 with my lawyer, Marty Stoller, and my dog, Bianca, and we were in there by 9:30 and got out at 12:30, about 3 hours altogether.
Was Bob Mueller in the room at any time?
I didn't look. I do not know.
You don't know?
I don't.
Which prosecutor was questioning you?
His name starts with an A.
Okay. Is that as far as you're willing to go?
I really don't want to come out here and
No, but I want to go through a couple of the things.
Like,
could you see, take us inside the room to the extent you can. Could you see the jurors assembled yourself?
Yes.
And did they look interested in what you were saying, attentive?
I think so, yes. They were, amped up on coffee, it seemed like. They were listening.
They were in
there. They did not fall out. They did not fall asleep. I'm a nightclub performer, so I know when I don't
Right,
have
you
a
know
crowd.
an audience.
All right, so
a couple basic things that I know that you can't answer. Were there any questions about Julian Assange?
Peripherally, that was not, listen, most of it was about Roger Stone.
Got it. Were there any questions about WikiLeaks?
I don't think so. I mean, peripherally, but that wasn't the subject of it. And I can't go into the
Were there
detail.
questions about obstruction or potential activities that would relate to obstruction of justice?
Possibly.
Go on.
Possibly. I mean, I don't know. I mean, whatever they extrapolated from my testimony.
Well, were there questions about people trying to shape your testimony in advance or threaten you?
You should have been one of the prosecutors there. No, I'm not going to tell you that. I really can't tell you exactly.
You won't say in or out. Well, legally you are able to. And
I know I am, but I'm not going to be like some of the other guests that come out and start like the so-called madam coming out and calling me a douchebag with Andrew Cuomo's brother.
No, but this is straightforward. I mean, let's look at it another way. In terms of the timeline, were there any questions that were about events after Election Day 2016?
Yes.
And so were they about...
And before, but I'm not supposed to be telling you that.
But were they about your dealings then with people post-2016? Was that about Roger Stone?
You're doing and you're circumventing what I can talk about right now, trying to elicit answers.
I am trying to elicit answers, but that's part of my job.
Yes, I understand that. But I think you can. It's like you have a coloring book. I don't need to give you Crayolas here. You just follow the last year. Since my name got dragged into this, what has gone back and forth in the public media? Well,
it sounds like, from what we do know, that a good bulk of the questions to you on Friday were about Roger Stone.
Yes, they were. I would say the majority, if not...
the majority of the questions?
Preponderance,
yes. The preponderance were about Roger Stone. That's interesting. And you told the truth, I assume, is your position?
Listen, I'm in a position there. I got a subpoena. Either I lie, I perjure myself, or I get cited for contempt for not answering.
Did they ask about Roger's knowledge of stolen emails?
I can't tell you about what they asked me. I mean,
well, you can.
I could, but I have 4 or 5 National Lawyer Guild lawyers who had instructed me to try to,
Would you say their interest in Roger was focused on what he did for Trump in 2016, or also his business activities?
Here you go again, as Reagan would say. You keep trying to drag me.
No, but I mean, I'm giving you about 30 more seconds just to get what I can out of you.
From the yes and no's, it was about Roger Stone. That was what we talked about.
What did they want to know?
Most of the time. Well, if I were to tell you that, then I would violate what I told you earlier that I'm not supposed to be talking about. I won't talk about the substance of it. You'll be able to find out real soon. Maybe the Mueller team will leak it. Did you ask them?
Did the people involved in the investigation on the FBI or DOJ side ask you not to talk publicly about it?
No, they did not. They did not. I'm just trying to maintain some kind of dignity.
And
with this right now.
final question before I go, because I'm turning to a congressman who's investigating this. Final question is, based on your time in the room Friday, do you think they are zeroing in on Roger Stone as a potential criminal target or not?
Well, they talked about Roger Stone most of the time. I mean, what do you think? Plus I got a letter from the Senate Intel Committee as I was inside that room. My lawyer told me. So I've got that coming. I have to go before the Senate Intel Committee.
The Intel Committee is where I turn next. Mr. Credico, I wanted to see what you would tell us about the facts in the room.
Was I good?
We will always let the voters and the viewers and the public decide that. Randy Credico,
Can I say one thing? Vote for Cynthia Nixon on Thursday.
That's for the New York viewers. Thank you, sir. I turn now to a member of one of those intelligence committees, California Congressman Eric Swalwell. Congressman, I begin where I left off with Mr. Credico, who answered some of the questions. But when we glean that these investigators were looking so much at Stone in the grand jury room Friday, how do you interpret that?
Good evening, Ari. It seems clear to me that they are zeroing in on Roger Stone as a target of the investigation, just based on the public reporting of the number of people interviewed, and also just based on the admissions that Roger Stone keeps making after his testimony. He has continued to update his testimony to the House Intelligence Committee. When you take a step back, though, and you think about all of these characters associated with the Trump team, like the person you just interviewed, like Roger Stone, boy, it's stark contrast to the folks with the Obama team and the Clinton team. I mean, it really is sad that the people who are counting on the president to work for them, for their health care, for their jobs, to root out corruption, these are the guys that are behind the president. I mean, it really is a stark contrast.
Congressman, as you know, Mr. Credico is not the only person speaking out. George Papadopoulos, who, unbeknownst to him, started the entire FBI probe, got his 2-week jail sentence and did some interviews, and some of them overlap with the work of the congressional committees. I want to play an excerpt of that here on ABC regarding Jeff Sessions. Take a look.
There are reports that you shut George down, unquote, when he proposed that meeting with Putin. Is this correct, yes or no?
Yes. I pushed back. I'll just say it that way because it was...
yes. Your answer is yes.
Attorney General says he pushed back. Is he telling the truth?
All I can say is this was a meeting from about 2 years ago. My recollection differs from Jeff Sessions.
He did not push back.
All I can say is my recollection differs from his at this point.
You could tell everyone's lawyered up from the way they talk these days, but the core point there is that the investigative work that you guys have been doing in the House, quite frankly, has created that contrast that George Papadopoulos implies Sessions was misleading your committees.
And put Attorney General Sessions in the category of revised recollections, because he too has come back after his initial statements about contacts with the Russians have proved not to be true. I sat in also on that interview and had questions for Attorney General Sessions at the House Judiciary Committee. I'm not satisfied that we know what happened in that room, and I believe that the best thing that the House Judiciary Committee can do, and this is what Ranking Member Nadler is asking for, is to bring Attorney General Sessions back, because George Papadopoulos, remember, he made this statement in his allocution. This is where you're being sentenced, where you really want to be truthful because you're about to go to jail, and it's a matter of how long do you go to jail. So if he's willing to be, I don't think he's going to lie at that point because he's already pled guilty. So if he's telling the truth, that means Jeff Sessions was not.
And so then what do you do about that?
Well, the Republicans, if they were running honest investigations and wanted to make sure we had an attorney general who was being straight with us, would bring Attorney General Sessions back. But again, whether it's the House Intelligence Committee investigation or the Judiciary Committee, we have seen a complete unwillingness to do that. So it's what will the voters do about that? Because if they want responsible investigations, if they want an administration that's not above the law, they're going to have to make some changes in the seats in Congress this November.
Understood. And Congressman Swalwell, we heard from inside the grand jury room from a witness. We heard from you as an investigator. And I guess someday we'll hear from the Mueller folks when they do their public work or their report. Thank you for joining us tonight.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Hey, I'm Ari Melber from MSNBC. You can see more of our videos right here, or better yet, subscribe to our YouTube channel below. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us, and we appreciate that.